Welcome to PRAJNA SPARKS special series 59 Days of Healing, where we explore one maxim from the Tibetan Lojong text, 7 points for healing dualistic mind, each day to integrate the practice into our lives. Today is day 50. We're in the midst of point 7, tips. Maxim 50 is, do not count on circumstances. The Buddha's teachings on interdependence means that absolutely everything is in relationship, is in connection with other beings, other circumstances, the gravitational field, you name it. This maxim is not saying you are independent of everything, don't worry about it, go out on your own. That is impossible. What it's saying is don't count on circumstances being just what you want them to be in order to enact this practice. Perfection does not happen in samsara. There's always circumstances that make us happy and then sad, angry, and then joyful, ambivalent, apathetic, whatever it might be. The practice of healing dualistic mind works right within that tendency to categorize and make up ramifications based on those categories. Oh, it's cloudy today. I can't do my meditation because I feel down with all of this grayness, that kind of thing. That's not to say that you might not actually feel depressed sometime and have to engage with that. When we are experiencing challenges, that's a different situation. What this maxim is saying is don't wait for inspiration to strike. Don't wait for the stars to align perfectly. Don't wait for perfection before you start to work with this practice. It does take a lot of courage and self-compassion to engage the practice when we don't feel like it, when things aren't lined up just right. That's exactly what builds the muscle of healing dualistic mind, not allowing the seeming ups and downs to have an immediate impact on our practice. When we're talking about much more seismic kinds of situations in our life, major challenges that are happening, that's not just what circumstances is talking about. That's not to say that we can't still practice in those situations. It just means, as an earlier maxim talks about, we have to be fairly adept to handle very challenging situations without ever skipping a beat. It's fine to skip a beat. What this maxim is saying is, don't sit there waiting for that perfect beat to come before you start.
I am a professor, and one of the things I have to do as a professor is to write. And at times when I have trouble writing, I spend time reading about writing. One of the things that I learned has to do with this thing about waiting for inspiration to strike. A lot of times people will say, "Oh, well, I'll write when I get that burst and I feel like, oh, I absolutely must write. I have this vision of something I have to do." Well, it turns out they've done experiments on this, and the people who are waiting for the inspiration compared to people who are writing little bits every day, the people who are writing little bits every day actually get more writing done and move their work forward and deeper than the people who are, waiting to feel inspired. And it seems like the same thing can be true here. What makes you a writer is that you write consistently. Maybe what makes you a practitioner, a meditator, a Buddhist, however you might define yourself, is that you do this on a very consistent basis. And that it's not about, well, on certain days, like if I'm feeling down, then I do this to help myself feel better. Or if I'm feeling up, I do this because I have the energy to do it. But no matter what the circumstances are, you just keep going.
That's a lovely analogy because what it's teaching is a really important thing. Our culture is one that really prizes things like these flashes of inspiration and these sudden epiphanies. What the Buddha is saying is everything comes about from cause and result. Even things that seem like flashes of inspiration and epiphanies are a result that bursts very obviously onto the scene. It came from a cause too. So, another way we can look at this maxim is don't count on circumstances lining up just so, but at the same time, make use of the circumstances to further that long arc of your practice, that long-term arc, the trajectory where you're going. It doesn't make sense to practice only when we're feeling energetic or only when we're down. At the same time, it's important to not be very binary about those things and say, sometimes when I'm down, I don't feel like practicing. What kinds of practice might I actually gain from doing in those circumstances? Maybe the uplifting practices like metta or loving kindness or compassion or joy, being out with people, generosity, whatever works for you in those blue moods works. Whereas when you're feeling very energetic, maybe it's helpful for you to do the tranquility practice, whatever it may be. It's saying have a steady stream of practice, but it's not saying force yourself to do that steady stream of practice. This is tricky to work with because it's not very dualistic. Don't count on the circumstances, but that doesn't mean you don't use the circumstances to be creative and to sustain the practice in whatever the circumstances might be.
This has been Yeshe and Tanya on day 50 of PRAJNA SPARKS special series, 59 Days of Healing. Tune in daily for more maxims from the Tibetan Lojong text, 7 Points for Healing Dualistic Mind. Check the episode notes for more resources, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at PRAJNA SPARKS, and email us, sparks@prajnafire.com, with any questions. May all beings benefit.